planning is the biggest thing I can recommend for any angler out there. Man, woman, is plan your meals, plan your snacks, plan the time you're going to be on the water versus if you're actually going to be on land. I do a lot of everything I do. Primarily, none of it requires to be refrigerated. So I found a lot of things that you don't have to have refrigerated. And I make a lot of my meals from home. We actually do boil in the bag water meals, just add water.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I am chatting with Don Pitillo this week, and Don is actually on a fishing pier in Myrtle Beach right now as we speak. How's it going?
Hey, everybody. It's going great. Beautiful day, a little chilly, but sun's shining, and hopefully the fishing's good today.
Yeah, so you just got there. You haven't caught anything yet?
We have not. We just dropped the Sabiki rigs in. The tide is going out, so we're hoping to catch some. We're hoping to catch the tide going out and then coming back in. And
yeah,
there's been a couple fish caught already, so not by us, but by other people. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good sign. So talk about the rig you mentioned. What are you guys using?
So we are using a Sabiki rig. It's got about a coral color on there, and we're using fresh shrimp.
Okay.
On it. There's some little swimmers that we see, little bait fish at the bottom, and there's a lot of bird activity. So we're hoping that this will bring on some bigger fish, so we can get ourselves on something larger today.
Any particular species you're hoping to catch?
We actually are not. We're just kind of out here. Shrimp is our bait that everybody recommended to use while being on this pier, especially during the cold weather. I think it's about 41 degrees right now here at Myrtle Beach.
Cool.
So they said, go ahead and try that. And it is.
Well,
it is.
If you catch anything, you'll have to send me a picture so I can update everyone.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, so I wanted to, introduce you to the audience and kind of talk about how you got into the whole sport of fishing. You're originally, I saw on your Facebook, you're originally from New York, looks like, but you live in South Carolina now. Is that correct?
Yes, I am originally from Buffalo, New York. Go Bills. And being from the north, we did fishing and stuff in the summertime, but it's primarily a hunting, more aspects than that because Lake Erie is a really big lake to be fishing on.
Yeah.
And then we moved, me and my son moved to South Carolina 9 years ago. And since we moved to South Carolina, you can literally be outside all year round, 365 days. So we really picked up fishing and stuff.
Nice.
And then 5 years ago, I met Jay. And after meeting Jay, he was huge into the kayak fishing. So as a family, we've all really grasped it. And we do a lot of hammock camping. We do kayak fishing and exploring all across South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, pretty much anywhere we find water and a place to hang our hammocks. We are there to fish and camp for the night.
Do you do any saltwater kayak fishing as well?
We do a lot off the Isle of Palms. We go up to the Isle of Palms Marina and we paddle out through the marshes in there and we catch a lot of redfish. Sometimes occasionally catch crab. We've caught a few stingrays. Those are a really awesome fight.
They are.
They're like the suction cup to the bottom of that ocean there and trying to get them up is always a good fight.
Yeah. And I imagine from a kayak, that's even more fun.
It is a lot of fun. They kind of pull you around through the little marshes and all the little crevices through there. And it's a really good time and get stuck in the pluff mud. It's just not so fun, but part of the game.
Yeah. And have you had any like crazy stories or anything that stands out since you've been kayak fishing?
So I don't really have any crazy stories. I've caught some big fish. I think probably the craziest story that we have is we catch, photo, and release all of our fish. Okay. And it drives people absolutely crazy because we'll be out in the kayaks and if we go catfishing, especially, and there's other boats around, and we'll catch monster catfish, 30, 40 pounders, and we take them, we give them a big old smooch, give them a name, take a picture, and we throw them back in the water, and everybody's like, you let him go. I'm like, yeah, let him go, let him grow. We can't have fishing unless we keep the species in the water most of the time, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine like even if you're inshore fishing or something and you catch like a nice redfish or something, that probably people are like, oh, it's such a good eating fish.
It is. Well, that's what kind of stinks about being an angler too, is that you really don't have the equipment on your boat in order to keep like a live well or a fish, and so it's really hard to, even if we did find a fish that we wanted to keep it long enough so that we can actually enjoy it for dinner.
Right.
And we also when we camp, we camp. I mean, there's no running water, there's no facilities. We are off the grid. So to be able to pack all the equipment you need to properly clean a fish, to cook a fish with the fire, etc., it makes it a little harder in some of the places we do camp at too.
Yeah, I can see that. What kind of stuff do you eat when you camp?
So, as we talked about earlier before jumping on this, I am in the middle of a weight loss journey.
Yeah.
In June, I had gastric sleeve surgery to kind of help lose some weight. And I'm doing pretty good. But most of the time when we're out camping, it's really hard to find something that's healthy to eat that isn't really saturated in a lot of processed high salt or anything of that nature. So planning is the biggest thing I can recommend for any angler out there, man, woman, is plan your meals, plan your snacks, plan the time you're going to be on the water versus if you're actually going to be on land. I do a lot of everything I do. Primarily, none of it requires to be refrigerated. So I found a lot of things that you don't have to have refrigerated. And I make a lot of my meals from home. We actually do boil in the bag water meals, just add water.
Okay.
I dehydrated my own hamburger, my own chicken, and I'll rehydrate it with maybe a little bit of tomato sauce, do some rice in there. We do a lot with cheeses and jerkies. We like our turkey jerky.
Well, that's interesting. I'll have to find out more about that because I kind of have the same issue and with when we're traveling, like when I'm doing tournaments and stuff, we travel in the truck camper, the Lance Mobile Podcast Studio truck camper that we have this year and we'll be using again next year. And we don't really like to use the propane as little as possible. I mean, it's got a gas stove, but, we just kind of try to shy away from that. So to avoid like constantly going to eat out, I'm always looking for ideas, simple things that we can make maybe on the fire, or we do have a microwave as well. That's pretty easy to use, a little camp stove or whatever. So,
well, we have a killer recipe for, it's all dried food. I make it ahead of time. But it's turkey dinner. It tastes like Thanksgiving dinner. It's mashed potatoes, gravy, chicken, corn, cranberries, and it's all in a bag. And all you need to do is boil about 1.5 cups of water, put it in the bag, seal it, and we put it in we have silver pouches that are insulated pouches that keep for when the food's setting to get to the right temperature. And we leave it in these little silver pouches. And all we have to carry is this lightweight dried bag of our food and 1.5 cups of water, and turkey dinner is right there waiting for you.
Wow.
And we get to control the sodium on that one, which is really nice because a lot of times things are super high in salt.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that because I was just thinking we're still, so when we're recording this, it's right before Thanksgiving. This episode's going to come out right after Thanksgiving, so for everyone that's hearing it. But we were just talking about what are we going to do for Thanksgiving this year, and we have this Instapot, and I was like, maybe there's like a Thanksgiving dinner Instapot meal that we could just throw it all in there and have our Thanksgiving dinner. So it's funny you mentioned that recipe. I'd love to share it with our listeners if it's not like a secret recipe or something that maybe you could send it to me. We could put it on the website.
Absolutely. I can definitely send it to you. It's really easy to do. It's something, like I said, we'll do the meal prepping ahead of time. I have a food sealer. So I just buy all the ingredients, and I think I have made 15 or 20 of these little pouches ahead of time. And all you need to do is just cut it open, add the water, and within minutes you have this hot, delicious Thanksgiving dinner.
That's awesome. South Dakota is expanding pheasant hunting's horizon and giving sportswomen a greater voice in the field. The connection to nature, the adrenaline of the hunt, the satisfaction of eating the game you bag, hunting is our shared legacy. Everyone is welcome to enjoy it. Go to huntthegreatestsd.com to hear stories from women who hunt and learn what makes South Dakota the world's pheasant capital. That's huntthegreatestsd.com. South Dakota, sportswomen welcome. Well, very cool. Health and fitness is something that I'm wanting to focus more on for myself going forward, and also tying it in on the podcast because, as we kind of talked about earlier before we got on, it is a struggle I think a lot of women face, men too, of course, but outdoors women and like you said, trying to plan ahead when we're doing these outdoor adventures, or you're going to be out on the boat all day, stuff like that. So I appreciate you, bringing that up and sharing a little bit about your journey. What kind of diet do they recommend that you stick to? Is it like a certain stuff you got to avoid?
So my personal journey that I'm doing right now is I'm recommended to eat between 60 to 7 grams of healthy, lean proteins, salmons, chickens, turkeys, 90+% meat, red beef, that kind of stuff, ground beef. That's the recommendation that they have for me. And then fill your stomach with your lean protein first, followed by your high fiber and your fruits and your vegetables. And then after that, then fill with any kind of starch or carbohydrate you have, is how my meal is prepared to eat. So I do always eat my meat first, and then I'll follow my broccoli, cauliflower, whichever I have. And then lastly, do the stuffing or the chicken or, the rice or the mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Gotcha. The other thing is that I've learned through this process of the past 5 months is fully chewing your food and actually taking time to enjoy each bite really makes a difference. I actually had to start eating. I'm right-handed. I actually started eating with my left hand. One, it's really hard to do something on the opposite hand. Two, you're not just, I guess, naturally shoveling. I mean, everybody eats and you literally just go fork to mouth, fork to mouth, fork to mouth. So by me eating with my left hand, I have to kind of think about it. Like, okay, my mouth is here. My hand has to, it's a lot harder than it looks. So I've slowed down with eating, and that makes a huge difference. Because you really kind of recognize your body being fuller sooner than if you were just going to be, completely just gorging yourself. But it's really tough. I am a crummer. I like to snack all day long and eat whenever I can, no matter if it's something just small. And it's really hard to do that when you're trying to lose weight, as you're just like constantly eating. So I've learned if I keep all my snackies off my counter and somewhere where they're not visibly able to just reach and grab one chip or one pretzel or anything that's out there, I do find myself snacking a lot less. So that's really helped by keeping the counters and the cupboards clean.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just had a flashback. I totally forgot when we were down at ICAST and we had that dinner with the Stealth Rod Holders team. And, there was all that great food around, and you just had to kind of pick and choose what you could eat. Because wasn't that like right after?
It was less than a month from the surgery. So yeah. I was definitely very limited what I can eat, and seeing all of you guys enjoy your delicious food that was out there, it was great. And being with the Stealth team was awesome. So
yeah.
They're really great people and absolutely love them. And
yeah, I agree with that 100%. I just had Kimber Pamp on the show last week, and we touched a little bit about Stealth Rod Holders and how unique they are with the quick release system and all the different mounts they have available for. I imagine you guys have those on your kayaks. What kind of difference does that make for you when you're out kayak fishing?
So for us as kayak fishers, to me, it's a game changer to have that quick release. You're very limited on your space when you're in a kayak. You basically have a very small cockpit to work with when you're dealing with your rods in the water, your nets, your equipment, everything else. To be able to know that you can leave your rod sitting there waiting to catch that redfish when you're hanging out in these marshes of South Carolina, and to know that once you start hearing that drag pull, you can literally just grab that and just start reeling in that fish is amazing. It's so quick. It's so easy. And you're not losing any more seconds by trying to fumble with unlock this, lift this, click this, pull this. So it's awesome. Yeah, it really has definitely made my cockpit in my kayak way easier for me to maneuver. I have a teenager. He's left-handed, so a lot of stuff fishing-wise and everything in the world is typically geared right-handed. He loves it because of the quick action that he can just reach down and grab it and catch his fish.
And the other thing too, I think I'm not a kayak fisher, so I haven't used Stealth Rod Holders from a kayak. But doesn't it allow you to not have as much of the end of the rod like sticking out into your kayak, so that kind of saves you some space that way?
It does. A lot of the other rod holders, you have to actually, where the reel and the rod meet, that actually sits smack dab in the middle of a normal rod holder. So then you're left with anywhere from, say, 3 to 12 inches of rod going up towards your knees or towards your middle. With the Stealth, all you need to do is just put the tip of the end of the rod and drop it down, and it locks it in place, and it makes a nice, firm, tight hold on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then your reel can just sit, and you can have your reel face up, you can have it face down, however you need to do it. It works really good, especially if you're tying on new rigs for your setup, because that way you have even more room for your arms and everything else to move.
And you can even set it up to where you can use your reel while it's in the rod holder if you have to, without having to pull it out and reel. You can actually have it set up to where you can leave it in the rod holder and just start reeling, right?
You can, and what's really nice about them is that when they actually lock into place, you actually do it backwards. So you'll put it towards you, and then you spin it to push it down so it locks into place tight. So that even if you were catching a fish or if you hit it with anything when you were trying to reel, it's not actually going to pop out. A lot of other rod holders, once you give it like a little tap, it almost pops out of its mechanism. Mm-hmm. And then now you're pretty much losing your whole setup. So
which is
you do not have that problem with Stealth at all.
Nice. Well, very cool. Do you have any, I know you're in Myrtle Beach right now, like we talked about. Do you have any big adventures coming up?
I don't. We have family in town. My son turned 16 on Thanksgiving. So whatever he wants to do, and he wanted to catch some redfish, and we know it's red October, red November. So we know the redfish are running the coast right now. Mm. So we're going to do some pier fishing. We're going to do some shark fishing tonight.
Oh, fun.
Hopefully go off the inshore and hopefully get ourselves on something.
Nice. Have you caught shark before?
We've caught little guys, nothing more than like 2 or 3 feet. It's always intimidating whenever you catch any kind of shark. I know their mouth is really small compared to their body, but you never know. But they're sharks, so.
Yeah. I got to do some shark fishing on a little charter out of St. George Island, actually, and in Florida. And we caught little baby sharks, but it was still cool. But when I got to hold one for the first time, I was like mesmerized by how strong that jaw was on that little baby shark. So.
Absolutely. And their body is so, it's like a mushroom. It's so spongy. You would think that it was like this like wet, slimy, almost like a catfish, but it's really not. They're just like really spongy feeling. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope you get some sharks. I'm going to let you get back to your pier fishing. Definitely send me that recipe for the Thanksgiving dinner in a pouch. That would be awesome. And let me know if you guys catch any fish.
Definitely. We'll send you some pics and I'll send you that recipe.
Perfect.
So,
all right.
Appreciate having me on here, and good luck out there, and talk to you guys soon.
Thank you. Thanks for being on.